Okay, I call this meeting to order. Will staff please do roll call?
Luke Westalker.
Here.
Jessica Lemcool.
Here.
Morgan White.
Here.
Gabriel Dussard.
Here.
Andy Stump.
Here. So now we'll move on to approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the February 4th, 2025 minutes?
So moved.
Second? Any seconds?
I second.
Okay, so moved. So now is the opportunity for public input. So if anyone wants to come up to the mic and speak, you're more than welcome to.
It'll be fun.
Okay, so we can move on to staff report then.
Good evening, SAC. I added a few charts that will feature in our annual report. I'm still compiling. I don't have all the data, and so I'm still compiling data, analyzing data, and producing some content for that report. But I wanted to just drop a couple of things in this staff report for you to take a look at. What I've dropped in here is some street tree data that we track over time. So a street tree is any tree owned and maintained by the city in the right-of-way, and the right-of-way generally being between the sidewalk and the curb, not always, but that's generally the right-of-way, the city-owned and controlled area. And we have some goals over regarding expanding the diversity of our street tree inventory. We want it to be diverse so that if a disease attacks one particular species, it doesn't have a big impact on the whole. And you can see everything's trending in the right direction in terms of reducing the preponderance of any particular tree, any particular tree's prevalence in our whole inventory. So everything's tracking the right way, and that's great. I've also got a note here. The city has selected Design Air to be the installer for our Geothermal Urbana Champaign program. That's our bulk purchase program, helping to make it faster, easier, and cheaper for homes and businesses to get renewable geothermal heating and cooling. So Design Air has been our vendor in the past as well. Take any questions you may have.
I have a question. For the tree data, is there an established goal? Like the, 30, 20, 10 was one I'd heard, but where it's like the family is...
I think it's 30, I think ours is like 30, 10, 5 or something like that, yes. We're basically at all of those or right at all of those. Maybe like one is over. So genus might be, I think Acer, which is maple, is high in genus, but other than that, we're essentially hitting it.
Also, what about, do you know if there's been a adjustment in the types of trees we're planting because of the change in our climate zone, because of the climate changes that we were already experiencing on a regular basis? And I think we're in a different zone now.
I know that the city arborist has contemplated that, when he's buying 100 trees at a time, it's not practical to buy 5 from one vendor and 12 from another vendor and on and on and on. So there are some practical challenges, but I know he's looking at species that are, from a little bit further south than what we would in the past have purchased. I think it's really, it's not systematic. It's more of what's available in the moment from the vendors that are in play.
Is there any data on tree loss and, like, I'm thinking about vacant sites that have had to have trees removed recently, if we know if there are any trends in that?
I do have the vacant sites versus planted sites. I don't have them here tonight. my recollection is our vacants continue to go down by a very small percentage every year.
I was more wondering if we know if we've been losing any trees of specific types, because I know other cities will like notice like all of one species will just go down and they're having issues with that one, so they stop planting.
I don't see that, you know, when we look at, you know, these charts you got here, you know, it's the same top, whatever it is, 6 trees that are showing up. There's not really a big, you can see in tree species, apple had some extreme variability a few years back, but that's probably just cleaning up the data because there are so many like subspecies cultivars of apple in our database, and they were recorded differently at different times in the past. And so I think what actually happened there was some database cleanup using more consistent wording so that when we pulled the data and summarized it, apple showed up as apple. But other than that, it's extremely consistent. You know, there's no species or family or genus that's zooming up or down. It's just the diversity is generally expanding.
Any other questions or comments on staff report?
I have a comment, I guess, for the Geo-Urbana-Champaign program. I think it'd be useful to get a presentation to the Sustainability Advisory Commission to share awareness and to make sure that the current commissioners are aware of like how it works and why geothermal is so important, and the benefits and how awesome it is to not sit in your backyard and hear the air conditioning come on. It's really nice. Like that.
Maybe an agenda item next month.
Yeah, and I don't know if maybe if Andy wants to talk about the geothermal piece and the design, or if you do it. Somebody tell us more. Or have the Geo-Urbana-Champaign people do it. Okay.
Anything else? So we can now move on to unfinished business. So that's the resolution recommending the City of Urbana prioritize the following climate action goals. So I have the slightly updated one that I emailed everyone here. So are there any additional comments on this document? I incorporated Andy's comments, but I don't think I've received anything else.
It might be better to just show one page at a time, really big.
Is that too small then too? Okay.
Like if you look up there.
Do we all want to read it individually or?
I volunteer to read it out loud.
Okay, thank you.
This is our draft resolution called a resolution recommending the City of Urbana prioritize the following water and energy sustainability goals. Whereas the City of Urbana established the Sustainability Advisory Commission in May 2008, and it has the reference number, quote, to assist the mayor and city council in identifying the highest priorities for city government and citizens to achieve the sustainable management and use of our natural resources, end quote. And whereas the City of Urbana's previous climate action plan for 2015 to 2020 laid out action items that have not all been addressed. And whereas the Sustainability Advisory Committee, I think that should say commission, has identified new goals since 2015 to improve the sustainability of the City of Urbana. And whereas the 2015 to 2020 Climate Action Plan included, quote, work with the Sustainability Advisory Commission, that's us, to create a new plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions for the 2020 to 2050 period. And whereas the Sustainability Advisory, it says committee again, passed resolution number yada, 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 in order to begin the process of implementing a plastic carryout bag fee for retailers. And whereas the City of Urbana does not offer incentives for businesses to recycle, nor includes businesses in the successful residential use cycle program. That's going to need the little and. Whereas,
One second, let me save this so I can make those.
And whereas local sustainability initiatives can be tailored to greatly benefit the specific needs of different cities and their various residential and business communities. And whereas government policies and practices pertaining to environmental, renewable energy, and public health have changed in the past on 4-year cycles. And now, therefore, be it resolved. I think that last one doesn't get and.
Oh, and, yeah.
Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Sustainability Advisory Commission of the City of Urbana recommends that the mayor and city council begin pursuing these identified highest priority sustainability goals for the City of Urbana for 2025 to 2026, with the following recommendations and considerations. Section 1. The City of Urbana should continue to pursue its own aspiring sustainability goals to become a clean, sustainable city rather than following minimum standards set by the state and federal bodies. Section 2. Section 2. Strive to be among the forefront of sustainable cities and serve as an inspiration for similar cities in Illinois and across the country by tailoring our approach to the specific needs of our community. And, Section 3, incentivize local businesses to recycle using used cycle, mixed bins, and multifamily dumpsters that can be integrated into existing pickup routes by 2027. And, Section 4, begin an education campaign to make used cycle a cultural habit in Urbana by universalizing what can go in these bins, whether at a residence, in public, or in a business, by 2026. And, Section 5, prioritize the installation of energy efficiency technologies in city capital projects by 2026. And, Section 6, coordinate with the Urbana Park District to provide increased access to parks, greenways, and recreational areas and support their strategic plan and CARES plan by 2028. And, Section 7, appropriate and find all necessary resources to plant trees in 2,000 vacant city tree sites by 2035 with the newly expanded staff capacity in Arbor Crew, while also using community volunteers and engaging with local businesses and schools. And, Section 8, support new net zero housing as was defined in 2024, says the Department of Energy, probably by the Department of Energy, by the year 2030. And Section 9, increase access to renewable energy technologies in residential and commercial buildings and projects, i.e. solar and geothermal systems, by 2026. And Section 10, electrify the majority of city-owned vehicles, equipment, and tools by 2030 using rechargeable batteries or hydrogen fuel cells. And Section 11, support environmental stewardship legislation by 2028. And Section 12, coordinate with local entities such as the Urbana Free Library, that should be capital L, and Urbana School District 116 to promote and support education and awareness programs for sustainability before 2026. I think that should say by to match all the other ones. We'll see. Section 13, Move forward on implementing a carryout bag fee for all single-use plastic bags distributed by retailers as soon as possible, and begin to investigate other ways to reduce the amount of single-use plastic bags as well as single-use polystyrene packaging in our city. And Section 14, continue pursuing the Streetlight Asset Management Plan to install new streetlights in neighborhoods without any, and replace old streetlights with a more uniform and low light pollution design by 2026. And Section 15, prioritize the incorporation of mixed-use development in the city's urban planning to incentivize walkability and public transportation. And bikes. We need to say bikes. That's the end, right? Or there's not
Yeah.
Yeah. Yay!
Thank you. And biking?
I think maybe is bikeability a word? I don't know. Walkability, bikeability, and the use of public transportation or something? Or
Bikeability is a word.
making it up? No, it's real. Wow, it's amazing. I love it.
With an E?
Words.
Are we sure it's a word?
I don't know how to spell it, but we use it a lot.
Hyphen? Yeah. There you
Now I'm
go.
going to look it up.
Put it in quotes. Bikeable. Thank you for all your hard work on this, Luke. And, you know, a lot of heavy lifting there for whoever did that. I know, Luke, you did, and appreciate that, and everyone else that helped.
For point 4, Scott, I know we talked last time about it being very, or maybe it was the one about recycling and U-cycle for businesses as well. I know we talked about it like being very difficult to implement, right, for businesses. So I don't know, like, is there a way, like some specific wording that like targets small businesses there?
I think, what I gather from that is there's an ambition for commercial recycling. I'm not sure that I would prefigure how exactly that would get done at this point. We'd want to look at other cities that either require or provide commercial recycling, look at a few different models, different ways that cities are doing it, and come up with a proposal.
2027 a reasonable date for that, or? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it's, we have to come up with a proposal, have that accepted and funded and so forth. So, I'm thinking that, by that date, that background work certainly could be done and a proposal presented.
But to that concept, maybe it needs to say incentivize local businesses to recycle, comma, such as by using, and the rest of it. Instead of locking in what we're saying is the way to do it. By using.
Just one question I had. I know in the beginning, like in the middle, after all the whereas to the actual be it resolved section, just wanting to make sure the dates 2025 through 2026 is what we were going for, even though the things that we're suggesting are beyond 2026. I don't know, like, because that would kind of give us the ability to come back to it, but I just wasn't sure if that was like the time span we were going for. Looks great to me, just noticed that.
Do we maybe want to do, like, starting in 2025, or what's the latest date we have? Because so this is by 2035.
Wasn't it on the city's list of goals, was that 2025? Not that it's on their list to do over the time period, it's what was on that document that had the goals.
Are you saying then don't have a time frame and just say,
I don't know what year that document was published that has the city goals.
Is
Was
that
there
like
such
the
a document?
strategic plan that
Yeah.
we're talking about?
Mhm.
Okay. I think does that strategic plan, Scott, have like a time span?
I'm trying to find it, but
Is that what we're referencing, I guess?
it's a reasonable time frame to look at because those do drive city action. Trying to find the most recent version though.
While you're doing that, like, I don't hate it being 2025 to 2026, because I feel like if we make it a big time span, then, these things aren't on the forefront. So if it's highest priority, so begin pursuing these identified highest priority goals, I think that makes sense, in 2025, 2026.
So the most recent version is Mayor and Council Strategic Goals 2024, 2025.
I'm in favor of it being 2025 to 2026 because of that. And when the next mayor comes in, they'll probably immediately be working on those goals, and hopefully this will be in the queue.
Yeah.
Because my understanding from our last conversation about those was that those are the things that then staff are resourced to do within their available staff time. So what gets put into those 2-year goals, or I don't know if it's a fiscal year or if it's 2 whole years, but those goals are really what gets focus. So I like that.
I agree.
concerning having a new mayor, they continue to use the previously passed like mayor and council goals, right? So if we were to approve this and send it off, that would theoretically get to the new mayor in May, or would we may want to send it again?
So your first question, the mayor and council strategic goals are an expression. They do not fund anything necessarily. So, they do direct staff, but, if there were a new effort proposed in mayor and council goals, that, a specific ordinance or some action would be needed to fund whatever that activity is subsequent. And then your second question is, I think, just timing of when you would want to send this. I would say as soon as the SAC feels comfortable with the copy, you would want to go ahead and send it, and then think about sending it again at a future date that seems relevant. I don't think there's anything wrong with sending 2 emails.
Luke, while you're there at the last whereas, might suggest putting the word topic or something like that between health and have. Kind of, I don't know what an environmental, are they topics, like environmental topics, energy,
Issues?
public health topic, or issue? I didn't know if issues was the right word, because maybe it's not really an issue. Might not be a problem that you're trying to address, maybe, but.
I like issues. No, are there other words that would be better?
Sometimes we use a really generic one, just items, which
Yeah.
doesn't really give any connotation at all. But then it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't feel right to me.
You were saying environmental topics or items or issues, right?
Yeah, just to kind of.
Well, no,
close the-
no, for all 3 of them.
Yeah, for all
Oh.
3 of them.
Got you.
I think topics makes the most sense.
Because policies are often about issues, but practices are usually not really issues necessarily. Wordsmithing at its finest.
Then I had a question about number 8.
Yeah.
Kind of going over that. So did DOE Department of Energy come out with some specific guidelines for net zero housing?
Yeah,
Right.
so they have like a clear definition
Okay.
and stuff.
Didn't know if you wanted to reference the word there or give some kind of guidance on where it came from.
I don't remember if there was a report name or anything. I'm not sure where it came from.
And really, couldn't it be changed or get changed?
Yeah.
You know, in terms of those .govs aren't necessarily looking the same.
Is there a way we want to be more specific or make it more generic then? Instead of referring to this?
Fine, yeah.
I like that it's specific, like I understand that it was, you know, as defined in 2024. Support new net zero housing. We're like supporting the creation of new net zero housing. Just, I know we've already done that. Like, I don't want to get too deep on the wordsmith, but is that what we're saying?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if there's like a policy, like they define net zero, they define the topic of, or the what is net zero housing? Is that the definition?
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
a term.
Because it kind of reads like we're following some definition, we're following some blueprint that they came out with, but they were just defining the term. Yes.
I think the term had,
I found it.
okay,
DOE announces national definition of zero emissions building, June 6, 2024. So I don't. All feeling very news article-y, but I think in there it's gonna have.
Maybe go to the
It
bottom
kinda-
there, it says blueprint.
it's weird that this link is going somewhere different now.
It's possible that it got deleted. A lot of government data, like
Yeah.
censuses, got deleted. So we might want to adhere to some other definition then. I don't know.
Wow.
I guess I was just asking, like, so it's a definition that we're following, we're not following something else that DOE came out with. Because like any house could be any kind of house, as long as it's got,
Yeah, so I think
Oh, that's
this is
so weird.
the document.
So like
that
any of
we-
those links are taking you to Secretary Chris Wright delivers welcome remarks.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
So there used to be a document here.
Very, very
Um,
interesting and learning.
Could we find some other definition of net zero housing by some other agency from, you know,
okay.
domestic or foreign that we could reference instead?
no, I think it's fine, it's just, I was just wondering about, the actual sentence that we were saying.
I mean, can we still access the definition at all?
And say it like this, maybe. Because the PDF is still up somewhere.
Perhaps we should save it or something. I don't know.
That's what I'm
You know what
doing.
I'm saying? Like, because it's all this, it's very interesting, all of these tax dollars spent to curate information that's now gone.
But the definition wouldn't change because they'd have to officially change the definition.
So I think
I don't know, if the information's hard to find on a website, that's just a lot there to unpack.
I think we can say this in quotes too to make it clear.
It looks like architecture2030.org has a definition as well. Yeah. Could just put the whole sentence in, it's fairly short. A highly energy efficient building that produces on-site or procures enough carbon-free renewable energy to meet building operations energy consumption annually.
You read that a little slower.
A highly energy efficient building, you're already there, that produces on-site or procures enough carbon-free renewable energy to meet building operations energy consumption annually.
Building operations energy consumption.
Mm-hmm.
Building operations. Is that like apostrophe S? Building operations.
No. And then you can, I
How
would
do you
just
spell
get
procure?
procure, P-R-O. Procure, yeah, with an E.
Or procures?
And I'd just get rid of the reference above just to make it shorter and punchier.
Okay. Support.
Yeah, you could, exactly. Mm-hmm. Net zero housing, defined as, yeah, whatever. Mm-hmm.
That seem correct then? Okay.
It's just procure needs an S.
Or procure. I think if
Wait.
we're doing plural buildings.
Buildings that produce, oh, sorry, gotcha.
Carbon free? Anything else? It's a very wordsmithing heavy day. Are we okay with this whereas? We talked a lot about it and people like sent in comments, but that's kind of how we went about saying it in a as abstract way possible.
I'm also just wondering if we could, since these are organized by importance, if we could move the last point, 15, up 1 or 2, because it seems important. I don't know. Maybe ahead of the
13.
streetlight asset management.
So The plastic bags and street lights are already being implemented or are in the process of it, so we can just.
And then just, can someone refresh my memory on support environmental stewardship legislation? Like, what were we going for there? I mean, I understand what environmental stewardship is, but like, what would be like what is that goal?
Does
Is that a
anyone
fair
know?
question, or is that a dumb, I'm sorry if that's a dumb question.
I don't know. I feel like this bullet point used to be bigger, and I'm not sure what it was supposed to say.
It lacks clarity a little bit, and I know that we were supposed to email these comments, so I apologize for bringing
we-
it up now in this
Oh.
venue, but
I think it's important, but it does have a lot of things it could mean. So it's a question of how do we confirm what we're saying? Like, are we asking the city to implement legislation locally that is about environmental stewardship? Like, all apartment complexes have to have at least one outdoor plug so people can use electric vehicles if they live there, would be an example. Or new high-rises in the city have to have not only a garbage chute, but also a recycling chute.
yeah.
That would be, I think that would be, wouldn't that be legislation? It might be a policy.
That would be legislation. I suspect the idea here is asking the city to invest in lobbying at the state capitol.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, was that meaning, city or, but maybe its vagueness is its strength, because it could be either of those things, which both would be great. All would be great. Yes, to all of those things. Yeah.
Require a certain amount of storm water detention on all new construction sites.
They're good examples. I love it. I think
These are things that are
vague- I
hard to
think vague is
approve
good.
because they have trickle-down impacts on costs to other people. So it becomes hard to actually,
Do we want to do a such as?
Or the other thing, instead of doing a such as, because that could pigeonhole like what the vision is, maybe it's at the state and local level so that it's clear, or,
I like that, at the
Yeah.
state and local level.
Because then we kind of give the responsibility to not someone else, but someone else will be
Yeah.
doing the legislation, so.
yeah.
How do people feel about moving this to the end so it's like a kind of like looking forward abstract thing?
I feel like it's the least concrete and kind of figured out of them, so that would make sense to me.
Is there a period at the last one?
Yes.
One other thing I noticed, we capitalize city a lot, except for in section 14, or maybe it was section 13. I don't know. Did you want city capital? Is that a thing we do? I don't know.
I feel like we shouldn't capitalize it.
Okay.
Unless
So
it's
there's
city
just a
of
few up
Urbana.
top then that we can get rid of, which I know is just a little thing, but
If city is referring to a specific city, then I'd capitalize city. If it's generic or vague, then not.
so the city, when we're referring to the city of Urbana, it should be capitalized, you're saying?
Yeah, I think so.
Capital projects, it's just that last one. I don't know, city-owned vehicles. I would say don't capitalize it in city-owned vehicles, because that's an adjective, right? I don't know, but just that, yeah, cities urban planning, that was the one I was
Okay.
looking at, that I thought needed to be changed. In our city.
Maybe just change it to the city. It matches the rest of them.
Okay.
Anything else?
think it looks great. Thank you again, thank you for all the hard work, putting it all together.
And thank you for all the comments. Do we put a resolution number now? I feel like we can.
Probably safe to do so.
The R for, this is our resolution, or is the R at the end for we revised it for some
R for
reason?
resolution.
Okay, then do we need to move to have someone? So motion to approve resolution number 2025-03-01R.
I move to approve the resolution.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the resolution passes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Awesome.
So I'll send that off to everyone then. Okay, so that's saved.
You pass it along to the council or the
Think so.
the leadership, or does Scott do that?
I'll follow up with the clerk's office about, this has been a while since we've done this. I'll follow up with what procedure they're following these days.
I know with the memo, they told me to like just send it, so we'll see. Okay, back to agenda packet. So I think that was the last thing on the agenda. Is there,
Yeah, I have a question. So is there, I know we have a Sustainability Advisory Commission webpage, and it has our agenda packets, et cetera. Can we get this resolution on the city page for our commission as its own item, as opposed to kind of going into the minutes? And I don't even know if that still is how some of those pages are set up.
There is a boards and commissions section, and then each board and commission has its own page, and I'm looking at it, so I think we can attach a document at the bottom.
perfect. Is there any new business? We'll look into next meeting, have something about geothermal, Banna-Champaign. There's nothing else. We can adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you.